Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most.
All right, Eric, had a guy reach out to me the other day, a new dad. He's got twins at home. He says he's home. Like, these kids are like less than 2 months old. He's feeling overwhelmed, trying to be a good dad, and so he found our podcast. So I don't know if he felt better or worse after he listened to the shows, but I guess his number one question was, what do I do? What do I need to do? I don't even know how to be a dad. So what should I do? So Eric, in all your infinite wisdom, what should he do?
That's a tough, first of all, 2 months old twins is.
You've been there.
I thought I was going to die.
You know what's funny? I love that you say this. You and I were together recently, and there's somebody who works with you who's a mom who's like, all right, I listened to your dad podcast. Yeah. And she said it helped me have a little bit more empathy for dads, though, because you guys are like, oh, it's so hard. She's like, okay, dad, suck it up a little bit. So I love that you're saying with twins, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to die. What would Brittany say right now?
No, this is one where like she would actually, she would agree.
Okay.
Yeah, she would agree. It was hard, but I'm glad that hopefully, this gentleman feels better after our podcast, or he's like, oh my gosh, what did I get into? But listen, the thing that I'd like to talk about for a few minutes with you is just like the importance of getting going, like just starting. And it's a kind of a odd thing to say, but really just not overthinking it. You know what I mean? Like, I think, let's correlate it to the business world, right? So you started Addo 12 years ago, right? You've been, I think, really successful at what you guys do. So, but if I were to ask you the question, Kevin, hey, when you founded Addo, 12 years have passed. This is what you will be doing. Here's the things that you guys will be accomplishing. What would you say? Was that what you set out to go do?
No, I mean, we were really clear on why we existed. It's a Latin word for inspire. We want to inspire people today to impact tomorrow. We're still doing that, but how we do it is totally different.
Back to that quote that Truett Cathy would say. I think it was Truett. It was either Truett or Dan. I've heard Dan say it, but founder of Chick-fil-A, it's marry the mission and date the methods, right? And so to me, what I would tell a young dad or any dad that's trying to figure this out, or, hey, I want to show up differently. What's the mission, right? What do you want to be known for? What is the mission that you want to kind of have and aspire to as a dad? What kind of kids do you want to raise? What temperature do you want to set in the house? And then set that aside, and the methods are going to change, but you got to start. If you're sitting here thinking about the mission for too long, you're going to waste time.
Yeah, as you're saying that, in my mind, I think about what you're saying is 100% true, and I get it in every other area of my life, but it's somehow tougher being a dad. Like if I was going to start getting healthier and I want to work out, like just got to start. It's going to look different days, but I got to start. If I want to start eating better, if I want to start anything, reading books, you've got to start somewhere. So you're saying as a dad, the same thing is true. When it comes to intentionality, when it comes to conversations with your kids, you got to start.
Totally agree.
Let's bring in some business examples for a second. We talk about this, the law of inertia.
Yeah.
Which I know why everybody's come to this podcast to hear about the law of inertia.
Yep.
But the idea is that something that's at rest stays at rest, and something that's in motion continues in motion.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that somebody is feeling right now, there's got to be the first step in that direction.
That's exactly right. You want to go run a marathon, and you got to take the step. You can't just go out and run a marathon. Get off the recliner or the couch and actually take a step towards it. That's the hardest sometimes thing to go do, but to take that step and get that going. But there's so many examples in the business world of things that like your company that you just started, but you stayed consistent. Like Richard Branson. And what would you say, what is Richard Branson known for?
everything. He's
Everything,
but I
right?
think about so many different things. But he's a guy. He's an entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur.
So he starts.
Dyslexic, 16-year-old, dropped out of school, had all these aspirations to kind of do media, music. He wasn't sure, but he just kept going, a little bit of money. He was, out of basically bankrupt, crazy stories of just like how he scraped things together, but ended up renting out a recording studio and just kept bringing people in, people that nobody would, want to listen to. And he just kept going and kept having these conversations with artists and trying to just create something. And then one thing led to another. And you had one artist that would come in, a guy named Mike Oldfield, in that little recording studio, and had a hit. And that hit, I think it was called The Tubular Bells, which I don't even know what that is, but I guess it was a big deal because it sold 5 million copies. But over the next decade, because of that, he had credibility. And then he signed the Sex Pistols, Culture Club, Rolling Stone, and just continued to then pivot, right? So he went from music to airlines, to trains, to mobile phones. And there are over 400 companies.
400?
That have been started or under his direction. And it started as a 16-year-old saying, hey, this is not what I want to go do. I'm dropped out of school and just kind of continued to go and pivot when he needed to pivot. But, if someone would have to start with, hey, the mission is I'm going to start 400 companies and be a billionaire. How long do you think someone would sit and plan and plot that thing out before just going?
That's good. Yeah. So the obstacle a lot of times to starting is we want to get so clear on the destination. We want to be so fixated on it.
Yeah.
We don't ever start. Okay.
Let's hit a couple, like, why don't you start, right? So for me, the first one is just like perfectionist thing.
Yeah.
Back to that. Okay, if I'm going to go achieve this level of success, I'll either spend too much time trying to manufacture the path to get there, or it's like too big and I get exhausted. I just can't do it. So that'd be the first one for me, is this like just too much of this perfectionist in me sometimes. It prohibits you to go start.
One of mine's being tired.
Yeah.
Like just flat out exhausted. Like I decide in the morning, I'm going to be really intentional today. Then I go work all day. I get home with my kids. It's the witching hour. The kids have gone crazy all day. Yeah. And I find myself, even last night, like I'd been out of town. I wanted to be present with my kids. And then I've got 3 minutes in the bed over there trying to read a book and do this. And my phone is buzzing. And my tendency is to pick it up and start scrolling. I'm in the bed with my kids. Why in the world am I looking at my phone? Yeah. But I think being exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one. Pride would be one for me, right? Like I'm not, maybe it's this feeling of unworthiness. I'm not good enough, smart enough, godly enough. Like I don't want my pride to take a hit if I go do something and then I don't achieve it. And I'll give you an example. So I recently ran an ultra marathon and stupid. I don't know why. I put it on a list of things I wanted to do. And, actually before I turned 40, and I wrote it out probably 10 months previously.
What is an ultra marathon?
So it's anything over 26.2 miles. The one I ran was, it ended up being like 32.6 miles. So it's a little bit more than a 50K. And
casual.
It's just casual, right? But I put it on a list, things to do. I got like 2.5 months before my 40th birthday. And that was still one of the big glaring things. But I was concerned. Like the reason I didn't do it, number one, was hard, but like I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to try to go do that and have to pull out mid-race because I couldn't do it.
I wish we had a video podcast right now, because one of my favorites was your wife's Instagram story of you walking into church the next day after you ran this race.
I don't know if that was walking is a kind thing. It was my legs hurt bad. There's too much pride. Like maybe I just won't do that. But the hardest thing for me was just to do it, just to start. Just starting that was signing up. Once I signed up, 2.5 months, I trained, I figured out ways to do it, and I got there. But there was this like push off of like, I'm not even going to do that because I don't want to fail.
So sometimes I feel like I'm inadequate. And it's interesting because pride and inadequacy are total opposite thoughts, but they have the same behavior. And the behavior is it paralyzes you.
Yeah.
So in pride, if you can't do it at this level or what people think, so you don't do it. But sometimes I don't have conversations or do things with my kids because I don't quite feel equipped to do them.
Yeah.
I'm not, even there's times I speak at my church. I think my faith is an important part to me. And it's so interesting when I have to have conversations with my kids about my faith, or about their faith. I feel like I'm not equipped to do it.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Okay, so we talked about exhaustion, pride, perfection, feeling inadequate. Are there any other reasons you can think of we don't start?
I think so. I think you fail how you're brought up, right? So I think most of us did not see this intentional approach to being a dad modeled. They didn't see the approach that we're trying you and I are talking about, right? So it's somewhat foreign to us. And so then again, you might feel inadequate because as you just don't, there's not a blueprint for it.
I think one of the reasons we feel inadequate is because the way that we are cast in society, we being dads, is stupid.
Yeah.
I love you're wearing a dad gang hat right now. Like I feel like trying to start this perception that it doesn't mean we have it all together, but like being a dad is a cool thing.
Yeah.
A lot of times being a dad is you're bumbling, you're stupid, you lazy, give me the lazy boy and the remote.
Right. Yeah. Think about like the TV shows we watched growing up, like whether it's Married with Kids, Al Bundy.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right.
Homer
Simpson.
Yeah.
Think about like, I think Bob Saget's character on Full House was kind of like this dorky dad. Like they're all these like, you don't really need them around. They're just kind of like, that was the image that we have. But then you also add too, like this kind of concept that's going toxic masculinity, right? So you've got, as a dad, there's a lot of pressure from society as to maybe why we don't want to start. So I think that's a good add to it.
Okay. I think we have covered a big variety of reasons we don't start. We're not diving in because of all of these obstacles. Yeah. I feel really qualified to start in business. I don't feel as qualified as a dad. What are the first steps we need to do to start?
Yeah. So remember we talked about earlier the importance of a mission or purpose. So I'll start there.
Okay.
If you just start and you don't know where you're going and, you don't have a map, you're taking the kids down to Orlando, you could end up in New Orleans. Who knows where you're going, right? So you have to have the purpose. I believe you got to start there.
Okay.
But don't spend too much there, right?
No, but I do think we have to start there. Andy Stanley says it this way, that direction, not intention, determines destination.
Yeah.
So if you intend to be a good dad, but you haven't set a purpose, a goal, a vision for it, your intention is not going to get you there. So direction is key. Purpose, goal, why.
Totally. That's so well said. And think about the discouragement you feel if your intention is to be a good dad, but you don't set the direction.
Yep.
Every day you wake up with the intention, if this is the case for you wake up with the intention to be a good dad, but you haven't put in the GPS coordinates of where you're going to go. And then every day you feel like you're failing. Well, I want to be a good dad. I'm thinking about this stuff, but you haven't done the work to put, where are you going? Where are you headed? What is your purpose? So to start, you got to start, but the first place you got to do is where are you going? Where are you headed? What is the purpose?
Okay, do I have to ask you this a question here? Because I do this in our business. Like when I feel like we're getting off track, we remind ourselves, this is our purpose. This is our vision. This is why we exist. In our families, do you have mechanisms to do that? Because do you remember the very first book we went through in your basement?
Yeah.
When you started the dads group?
Yeah.
There's a guy, Mark Batterson, amazing. He's got this like manifesto. What does he call it? Some big important thing for his family.
Right. I'm afraid we call it, yes.
Yeah. And we're all like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then we come back 6 weeks later and we're like, all right, how many of you guys have done this? And none of us had.
Mm-hmm.
How do you actually do that to remember the why?
Well, again, you have to set what is important. It's going to be different for everybody. So for us, a couple things we talk about, and everyone, if you like it, steal it. But we talk about going the extra mile.
Okay.
And faith is very important to us. So there's a Bible verse attached to that, Matthew 5:4-1. And it's all about how do you go the extra mile. So as a family, we want to be going the extra mile for people and for each other. We talk about being mat carriers.
I'm looking at this on your arm right now.
Yeah. We talk about being mat carriers. And again, it's scripture based, but it's essentially about 4 best friends that carried their one crippled friend on a mat, right, to help him meet Jesus. And so again, that's for us. But like, I think how you do it is through story, it's through connection, but like figure out what's important. But then that's how you teach. It's, hey, so this happened today. Did you go the extra mile? Like what is important to us as a family? We're going to do these things. And it can be as simple as be kind, love each other, whatever. But like, you don't have to make it a big deal. But what are the important 2 or 3 things? Anchor to them And then you teach that way. Hey, buddy, like what's one of the biggest things for our family? Be kind. What did you just do? Was that kind? Like, is that how, you know what I mean? I don't think it has to be this manifesto that we've seen some of folks go really, really far with this. It's great too, but I think we can make it simple. So that's purpose. So that's what else? What do you think? So purpose is one reason to kind of start and finish well.
After purpose, I'd say priorities, and specifically prioritizing yourself.
Yeah.
There's got to be now, and that sounds, I know for the moms listening, they're like, oh, here we go. Dads are going to prioritize themselves. But if you're not thinking through, we talked about baggage before, what is it in your life that's making you do the things you do? Why do you get up in the morning? If you don't focus on yourself, you're never going to be able to lead as a dad.
Totally agree. And I'll build on that. The mom that's rolling their eyes probably is rightfully so, because how this typically shows up is the time that we actually could carve out for ourselves. Oftentimes we don't spend it in a way that's meaningful for what we're trying to, the investment. The investment isn't a wise for the return we're trying to get.
We need to productively prioritize.
And there's nothing wrong with going and meeting your friends to have a beer or two or going to play golf. I'm not saying that, but if that's all you're doing and there's nothing like that helps, fulfill maybe a need that you need to get, then yes, there is an eye roll on the back end of that.
Purpose, priority, prioritize people.
Yeah.
We'll
stay on the P theme. Yeah, this is community. Like you need to have people around you that are going in the same direction.
Yeah, I'm just saying this because we hit this somehow, some way every episode. And if you've listened to these up to this point and you still haven't found that community, you've got to take the first step.
Have to.
I mean, whether it's a small group at a church or it's calling a few guys that are friends, like to me, Eric, one of the coolest things that would come out of these conversations we're having is some men that are going to take the initiative to start forming these communities.
Totally.
So
I totally agree. You just have to have a supportive group of friends around you that are all going in the same direction and going for the same thing. And as guys, we are very loyal creatures. Like we really are. And sometimes like we look at around and maybe our best friends aren't in the same spot we are. And then we're like, oh, I'm going to leave them behind. And I can't that's my guy. Like, that doesn't mean that. You just might need to have another group, but maybe you can pull them along. But like we've got to have that. So purpose, priorities, people, and then one of the things we talked about on a previous episode is pivot. Like sometimes people think if I start, that means I'm starting down this path and I got to go all the way straight line. And so that's why they take too long to start, because they have to have this perfect destination. And if I get on the path, it better be the right way. And I can't take a wrong turn. You just have to be able to pivot. You have to know when you got to pivot. And then when you do, you got to go really hard. So how powerful is your pivot? Like ask yourself that question. You're going in the wrong direction in marriage, your friendships, being a dad. This is going to happen. You're going to get off course. But if you make a left turn and you get on 85 and you're headed towards Charlotte and you're trying to go down to Orlando, you better turn around and make a pivot and get back on the right road.
This one goes back to that quote you used in one of the first podcasts. How did you go bankrupt?
Yeah.
Gradually, then suddenly.
Yep.
If you find yourself off path, whether it's gradually or suddenly, you've got to be willing to pivot.
Yep.
And then the last one is persistence, which is just, man, rolling up your sleeves and sticking with it. Like you can't quit.
Can't quit. It's, again, it is the journey that you're on that you have to lean into, not the destination. And it's back to that concept of compounded consistency. Compounded consistency over time. Yep. Can't do it for a week. You can't do it for even a year. Like the return is going to be great, but it will be greater if you have it and you are approaching it with that mindset. This is compounded consistency over time, and you're going to get there.
Last year, I wrote a book about ROI, called it Return on Inspiration.
Yeah.
When you think about the ROI of investing as a dad, I mean, to me, that's like the ultimate ROI is a legacy.
Yeah.
How do you think about that?
Well, it's, so you could be the most inspired business owner, put in more work than outwork everybody. You could even have the best idea. And that does not guarantee success. It just doesn't. There's factors that are out of your control. Now, as a parent, as a dad, you can be the most inspired dad, put in all the work, do all the things. And yes, it does not guarantee that your child is going to be this amazing person that you want them to be and have this legacy. But I will tell you, my opinion is the chances of that happening and having a great outcome as for your child and leaving a legacy for your family are much higher than if you did all that work. Like the return on your investment as a dad, I think you have a higher probability if you're trying to be great that you're going to get the outcome that you want than if you're thinking about this from a business perspective.
The highest probability ROI is an investment in your kids.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a good reminder. Just start.
Just start.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.